What's up, guys? So Ryze has been seeing a bit of spike in popularity in pro play since the new season started, and I saw Scout in particular went something like 7-0-14 on Ryze in a pro game, so I decided to check out his OPGG, and he's actually won almost every single Ryze game since the new season started. He's only lost one, so I decided it could be good for us to check it out. I'll quickly take a look at the items and runes. So he's going a very early game roaming setup. You can see it all here, and he's also building the tank build, so we'll see why that's good when we get into the game. And I do think Ryze in general is sort of misunderstood in solo queue. Ryze's scaling in pro play really comes from his side laning potential. There's very few champs that can 1v1 Ryze in the late game. But he's not a crazy team fighter. He does do a lot of damage, but because he's so short range, often he can be CC'd or it can be hard for him to DPS. So Ryze and solo queue should definitely be seen as like an early game roaming champion, something that you can impact the map on, sort of similar to TF, but let's get into the game and take a look. So guys, we're in the game. I've moved my cam a bit so you guys can see the mini-map, because I keep forgetting to do that. I'll quickly show the runes. So again, you can see he's gone for this really early game setup, and he's starting Corrupting Part, like one, because he has Time Warp, they synergize really well together, and the other reason is even though Ryze is a counter to LeBlanc, it is a lane where you're going to trade a lot of HP back and forth, so it's kind of important to have that. I think the reason he started E here is he's most likely going to go Q level 2, and that's because like often as Ryze, you do like a three wave crash into like a tier base, and if you go like W first or E first and W second, it can sometimes be hard to get that wave all the way in. But if you start E and then take Q level 2, there's basically no other champs that can like match that at level 2. So you can see here, just kind of autoing on cooldown, pushing the wave in with a nice little slow push, and yeah, he's skilled Q level 2, so that's going to allow him to maintain priority in this lane. The only thing you really need to be careful of against LeBlanc in the early game is like jungle ganks. The reason he's been hugging topside the whole time is because they know Jarvan started red, so all those ganks are going to come from bot side. He does ward topside here. I think this ward is a little bit useless, to be honest. It could have been a bit further up, maybe about here, but hopefully he'll be able to get away with this. But it is, I would say, a little bit risky. It's very easy for Jarvan to path around that. So level 3, I think now he's most likely going to look to crash the wave pretty soon. He should have enough gold for his tier. Yep, he has enough gold already. So he's going to be able to push this in and get the reset. Most likely TP back to lane is best if he can get away with not using it. It's possible what he's doing here, he's like kind of waited an extra wave to crash his wave, is to try save his TP, or it could also be he just wants a pink ward. So we'll see what he does. I think you could do either, or you know, both. So it looks like Jarvan ganked top, so we kind of got away with this. Yep, we'll reset here. Okay, now it's going to be interesting to see what he does here, to see whether he TPs or not, because I think you could probably get away with not TPing here. But let's see. Okay, so he TPs back to lane. Honestly, it's okay. I think maybe could have got away without TPing, but we'll see what he does with it. If you are using this TP it, so you can play like really aggressively in the lane and try make it difficult for LeBlanc to get all this CS. But you know, he's the world champion and I'm not, so let's see what he does with it. So he's looking for some heavy trades on LeBlanc. I sort of do like it. I think stopping LeBlanc from getting this like wave in is very good. He does need to be careful not to trade too much because, okay, see, I don't know. It's like okay. The reason that wouldn't be good is because if you can't crash this wave in time and LeBlanc TP's back and like Jarvan's around, it can be really hard to get this wave in because you're half HP. Okay, well, he managed to kill LeBlanc. I think it could have been... Okay, if LeBlanc and Jarvan were playing well together, I think he could have been punished for that overtrade there, but he played it very well mechanically. Actually, that goes to show, guys, like, sometimes, even if you make decisions, it might not be, like, 100% optimal. If you just execute really well on your decisions, oftentimes they can turn out well. Okay, so he's gone with the tier 1 boots and the ruby crystal. There's a couple of reasons for this. Obviously, you need the boots if you're going to be roaming a lot. He's going to be running up and down the river. And also, you can afford to buy like tankier items on Ryze because in the early game especially, you don't really need AP to clear waves. Like you'll see here, even with only 9 AP, like that's just his base AP, right? He's able to like push this wave in much faster than LeBlanc. And you know, there's some champs where there's kind of like a break point where you need like a certain amount of points in ability, or you need like an amp tome or a lost chapter to one-shot the back wave or something like that, but Ryze isn't one of those. So when you hit level 6 on Ryze, that's when you really want to start looking for roams once you've got your ult. The best time to roam is on a cannon wave. There's a couple of reasons for that I'll quickly explain. The first is that obviously it takes longer for people to clear a cannon wave. Like if you can one-shot this, which Ryze easily can, you just E this and queue the rest of the creeps. It takes a long time for LeBlanc to kill this wave under tower because, well, one, her wave clear is not good, but also just because cannons take longer, right? The second reason is that if you're looking to dive another lane, not only can the cannon tank a few more tower shots than normal, but also the cannon's the most valuable minion, so people are less likely to just like run away and leave it. And if they do, like, you deny them quite a bit of gold. So we should see here Ryze move down to bot lane. I think this is like a fairly obvious play, like bot lane stacking a wave, and both the mid jungler on the bot side of the map. If you can link up with your jungler like this, it's really, really good, but I wouldn't expect to see this outside of like high reelers like Master or even Challenger. But if you're duo queue with someone, setting up this kind of thing as Ryze is really good, because Ryze is this guaranteed CC, you know, point and click, makes it really easy to do ganks. So here they're definitely going to look for a dive. Bot lane has definitely overstayed, and you can see, guys, LeBlanc is only just now leaving because she took a really long time to clear that wave. So it looks like pretty nice executed dive. One thing I'd like to quickly say is that you see there how everyone ignored Nautilus pretty much and just focused Ezreal. I'll actually just play it again. So you'll see here that basically no one hits Nautilus at all. I think Jhin put one auto attack on him, and the reason that is because when you dive a side lane, you need to be very like, the most important thing is like denying CS. So like, if, say you come down here and the enemy bot lane leaves, they're forced to leave their tower and lose all the creeps. That's a win, right? But an even better win is if you can kill the ADC and deny him CS, because then you get the kill gold as well. But if you kill their support and leave their ADC untouched, it doesn't really amount to anything. Yeah, the ADC still gets to farm the wave. You do get the kill gold on the support, but it's not like the support's losing like meaningful farm. And they played that really well. Managed to pick up a few kills on the back. I wonder if they're going to go for her as well. They might actually be able to. Okay, Ezreal's coming back, so maybe they're going to look to back off. But overall, like, the most important thing, right, was that they killed that Ezreal. He should be fairly far behind. Yeah, 39 CS, and he's got 3 deaths already. So if you can kind of, like, set the enemy ADC behind like this, it puts you in a really good spot to just, like, win fights throughout the game. So he's got tier 2 boots on the Kindle Gem. Really like this. I think rushing tier 2 boots on Ryze is extremely valuable. It gives you like the movement speed, and you're going to be roaming a ton. And the other thing is that, simply put, you don't really need items like normal mages need to like clear waves and stuff. Like last chapter, it's just not as necessary on Ryze. Obviously it's like good, right? But the movement speed a lot of the time will actually give you the kind of like biggest increase in like impact that you're going to have on the game. So clearing out this wave, you can see Ryze clears waves very quick. Now every time you push a wave in like this, guys, you have like, think of it as having like one window. You have like one turn to do something. So while the enemy mid has to deal with this, you can do one thing. You can base, you can ward, you can roam, but normally you can't do more than one thing. So you kind of have to decide what you want to do. Here he decided to like try and harass LeBlanc, and he ends up getting a tower plate. But yeah, generally you should think of each wave pushed in, you get one turn to kind of like spend your time. You can do one thing. So here he's found the enemy jungler, and he's actually going to contest this grab. This is pretty Chad. I like this a lot. Ryze Sin, really good combo. As you can see, the point and click CC just guarantees basically that Lee Sin gets a Q, and for that reason Ryze Sin is one of the strongest combos that you can possibly play. I think Ryze Rek'Sai is really good as well, but there's a few where you know, Ryze provides the CC and the other person just provides damage pretty much, and it's really good. So this is really the strength of Ryze, guys. Like, it's so strong in the early game because your wave clear is so high. You have all this crowd control, and you can just kind of like you know, I've just been saying it over and over, but you have so much time to do stuff. The faster you can clear a wave, the more time you have to impact the map. And just like, you know, destroy other lanes, which is what really like wins you games in solo queue. So here we've got last chapter. At this point, Ryze is going to be doing a lot of damage. Once you start getting mana items on Ryze, you start doing a ridiculous amount of damage, even if you don't have like bigger items yet. You know, he doesn't have any mythic completed. So I think here we'll probably see him continue to just kind of like push in waves, look to impact the rest of the map. So let's see what he does. So he clears this wave. I think he's probably going to use his turn here to do a blue buff or something. Maybe support Lee on the Rift Herald. Okay, actually, I think he probably could have soloed blue there, but I think he probably wanted to hover his Lee Sin, make sure Lee didn't get into trouble in the top river. He does need to be a little careful while this Nautilus is still here. There's a lot of like CC between those two, but there's not too much damage, so he should be okay. You can see here, guys, like how quick Ryze's cannon wave clear is, and you can see like Ryze will support the Lee Sin here, right? But look how long it takes LeBlanc to clear this wave. This is why Ryze is so good into LeBlanc, is because Ryze just gets so much freedom over the game, while LeBlanc is just like stuck clearing waves under her tower pretty much the whole game. What the hell? Okay, so Nautilus, he definitely got a bit far up. And see, Ryze's actually doing like a pretty good amount of damage, even though he doesn't really look like he has that many damage items. You know, the only thing he really has that does damage is this last chapter. That was a very aggressive engage by Ricard. I'm not sure. Yeah. Engaging on LeBlanc is a bit sus. I'm not sure what he expected out of that. So at this point, the game's in like such a good spot. You know, Ryze is already like really accelerated. He's so far ahead of LeBlanc, he can continue kind of just like pressuring the map. Interesting to see kind of what he does now. So after clearing this cannon wave, probably look for a base. I imagine he has a lot of gold, 1700. Yep, so he looks for the base, probably picks up the Everfrost, I'm thinking. Yep, Everfrost, and okay, another Kindle Gem. Interesting. So very tanky Ryze already. It's 12 minutes and he's almost got 2000 health. That's very, very useful when you're playing a short range champion. It makes it a lot easier to play. So he has his ult up here, and he looks for this ult again with his jungler behind the bot lane. Once again, guys, they're really looking to cut off this Ezreal. You see, the way that Ryze and Lee Sin moved was particularly just to make sure that this Ezreal died. Obviously, if he can kill this Nautilus as well, it would be nice. Ooh, can they get it? One more. Oh, wow. I can't believe that hit. I thought it was out of range. But yeah, so when you're looking for those roams again, especially if you're roaming bot lane, always think about, like, killing the enemy AD carries. It's like by far the most important thing, and you can tell, right, that they're just like all thinking about it when they're looking to roam. So when you come into mid game, we said before, like in the little intro bit, that Ryze is very strong in split pushing. So if you get ahead like this, it can be really good to just like plant yourself in a side lane and just like destroy towers, farm as many creeps as possible. That's really Ryze's strength, is that he's like a strong roaming champion in the early game, but he accelerates himself really fast because he farms so quickly. He farms jungle camps quickly, he farms creep waves fast, you know. He's very good at like putting himself ahead of the rest of the game. Probably has like way more gold than just about anyone else in this game. Taking a few towers there, probably will look for a base now. Okay, so this is the interesting part. So this is the new Ryze build here. You're building Winter's Approach out of your tier, which builds into Fimbulwinter. And the reason this is so good is because the HP given scales off of mana. So you can see already this is giving him 500 mana and a total of 618 HP at the moment. And that's before it's even fully stacked. So 14 minutes, you have 2.3k HP. And guys, Ryze is a champion where you can like build like reasonably tanky and still deal tons of damage. Like, one, just because you get a lot of rotations off during the fight, but also because like your spells scale off of mana as well. So you'll see that despite being like insanely tanky, he'll actually put out like a fair amount of damage in fights. And I think it's a really strong build at the moment. I think the biggest reasons Ryze has like a low win rate in solo queue is like, one, he is difficult to play, but I think this difficulty comes normally from being like a short ranged, reasonably squishy champion, and also people not understanding that early game in solo queue is actually the strongest point of Ryze's gameplay. So I think like if you kind of like take this setup like with the runes we showed before, and you kind of like do what I was talking about, where you're just like looking to pressure the map with your ults and on cannon waves, and then you build like this to where you're really tanky. This covers a lot of like Ryze's weaknesses in solo queue, and he'll also make him just like a lot easier to play in general. You can see Ryze doesn't have too much to fear from this Fiora. He's just like really, really far ahead. I think, yeah, Fiora's like 1-4, and at this point, if you're this strong in the side lane, guys, you always want to try and make sure you can get the wave under the enemy's tower. The reason for that is if you push a wave to like here, for example, the enemy team doesn't actually have to respond to it. But anytime you push a wave under the enemy's like inner tower, or you know, if this tower is down, you can push it all the way here. It means they really have to respond because the waves are just like dying under the tower. And also, the further you can push this wave up, it's kind of like what we were saying before. It gives you more time to do stuff. So Like, if he leaves now to do stuff, right, the next wave hasn't even spawned. He doesn't need to be here for like 30 seconds to another minute. So that means you can use this time to farm enemy jungle camps. You can use it to roam mid. You know, there's a lot of stuff you can do here. Unfortunately, there's no jungle camps up at the moment for him to do. But you can just sit in like the fog of war like he was doing up there, so they don't know where you are anyway. And that kind of like pressures the map even if you can't like pressure it directly. So yeah, very, very high farm at the moment, hasn't died, and he's pretty close to finishing his Fimbulwinter, or his Winter's Approach, or however it's called. Okay, yeah, and so if you, this is like one thing you'll see, like Chovy especially doing, the further up you can push this wave, it gives you resets for free. So normally when you reset, like just in general, you will lose like a wave or so for it. But if you can manage to push the wave like really far up, you're not going to lose many creeps before you get back here again. This is something else you'll see pretty often on Ryze, is like when they walk on the map, because you farm creeps so quickly, you generally, when you're like pathing to lane, especially after like 15 minutes or so, it's very easy for you to just like farm any jungle camps on the way to lane. It puts yourself really ahead. I'd say the one thing though is you don't really want to take the jungle camps like right in front of your jungler. You know, if your jungler's farming, I mean like walking to Krugs, you probably don't want to take it from him. Oh, Fiora wasted a riposte, so she's pretty dead. You can see like this crazy amount of damage that Ryze is putting out. You know, he kills her in just a couple of rotations. Obviously, she's very weak, but you know, for as tanky as he is, you know, 2.6k HP, 100 armor, it's really sort of unfair, I think, how much damage he's putting out at the moment. I could definitely see Ryze's priority in competitive continuing to go up, and I think it is a champion that, if you do know how, like, what to do on Ryze, he can be strong in solo queue. Like I said, there's just some pitfalls on Ryze that normally cause the win rate to go really down, or for people to be just, like, not that good. Oh, speaking of not that good, not that good a flash. Can come over and eat these Krugs. So you can see he's 10 CS above the clock. It's much easier to do on Ryze than other champions, obviously, because you farm so quickly. But a lot of like CSing well in general, guys, is just making sure you're using your time well. That's like something I think you should definitely try to take away from this, is like using those turns on waves like efficiently, and making sure you're not missing too many creeps. Oh, that guy's dead. And if you're using your time efficiently, you know, you're taking bases at the right time, it'll kind of come naturally for you to have higher CS. You know, you see a lot of people when they're wondering about how to get their CS higher. A lot of the time they actually get most of their CS, but the problem is they're just not there for a fair amount of it because they have really poor bases and stuff like that. So now that this is completed, so you can see the everlasting passive on this. When you immobilize an enemy champion, you get a shield which absorbs 300 damage, and the shield is increased if more than one enemy is nearby, and also he's gaining almost 700 health from it. So you can see this is just making you virtually unkillable. If you get this early in the game, it's going to be really hard for you to die, and combined with all these extra defensive items that he's building, it's going to be, you know, Ryze really is fulfilling the kind of like raid boss fantasy that a lot of people play him for. At least that's, you know, one of the reasons I play him. So I think from here, it's, you know, the game is pretty over. There's not much the enemy team can do about this. Yep, so the game's over. So guys, I think this build, it has a lot of potential. It's definitely something I'm going to be trying out, and if you like Ryze, I'd recommend trying them out as well. Just remember the Ryze, really, you need to make use of that, like, that early game. Looking to roam on good times, but yeah. Hopefully that was helpful to you guys, and if you like this sort of content, let me know. It's something I kind of have fun doing, and yeah, if you guys find it useful, I'll definitely do more of them. So make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.